Hello everyone, and welcome back to another AAC video. For those of you coming across the Animal Artists Collective for the first time, we are a group of artists here on YouTube founded by Jennifer, Charlie, and myself to create artwork every other month in order to raise awareness and donation funds for various conservation and animal efforts around the globe. Our 2019 theme is animal groups, and this month, rather than doing the very broad category of mammals, which has a huge array of animals that many people know and love, we decided to break down the last poll into two specific subgroups of mammals, the order Carnivora and the former order, but now clade, Ungulata. However, it turns out that narrowing it down didn't actually help us much at all because it was our first ever poll to end in a 50-50 split after an entire week of voting. We decided in the group itself to focus on ungulates this time around, but since so many of you wanted to see carnivores, we're going to go ahead and do that in September. Due to having a lot going on in Jennifer and I's lives, we didn't exactly get around to posting that on our social media early enough, which we apologize for. So if you are unofficially participating and weren't sure which one to go with, you can upload from either theme to the hashtag Animal Artists Collective tag for a chance to be featured over on our Instagram stories following the release of this video. Since the next theme will be carnivora, if you did a carnivore this time around, you can do ungulates next time around, and all that fun stuff. So hopefully that makes sense, and if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Also adding on to that little detail that Jennifer and I have been really busy in our personal lives with some major life changes. We also were unable to bring on a new guest artist this time around, but that does mean we have two of our wonderful past guest artists, Sarah and Bonnie, joining us again. You can find their info, all of our info, and all of our social media, application forms, and unofficial participation guidelines in the description below. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. The former clade Ungulata now consists of two orders, Artiodactyla, which contains all of the even-toed ungulates, such as camels, llamas, pigs, hippos, deer, antelope, giraffe, cows, sheep, and even whales, yes whales, just to name a few. The smaller order of Perissodactyla contains odd-toed ungulates including all equines, rhinos, and my featured animal, the tapirs. Now I'll get this out of the way up front since some of you might have thoughts on the matter, but after a lot of heavy research, both pronunciations of tapir and tapir seem to be equally used and in different dictionary guidelines, so I would say use whichever one you prefer or whichever one fits your accent more comfortably. This lesser-known cousin of horses and rhinos are rather ridiculous-looking forest-dwelling animals. They are similar in body shape to a large pig, but with a large prehensile nose that could be considered a trunk, though it is much shorter than that you'd find on an elephant. There are 4 or 5 species found across the Americas and Southeast Asia, depending on who you talk to. The solid 4 species are the South American, the Central American, the Malayan, and the mountain tapirs, and there's also a 5th possible species called the Cabomani, if I'm saying that correctly, which may or may not be a separate species from the South American. The Cabomani aside, the remaining 4 are considered endangered or vulnerable species, and they are in need of our attention. Tapirs are approximately 2 meters long and 1 meter tall at the shoulder, though that does vary by species, of course, and they weigh anywhere between 330 and 700 pounds, also depending on species and sex. Adults of the American species generally tend to be very plain in color, being almost solid brown in coloration, while the Malayan have bold areas of black and white. However, you may have very keenly noticed that I am not painting an animal that follows either of those descriptions, and that is because I am painting a young tapir, which are all adorably spotted, no matter the species. Female tapirs gestate for over a year and give birth to a single calf, which will reach maturity in 3 to 5 years. After weaning, tapirs live solitary lives with the exception of mothers rearing their offspring, and they live to be about 25 to 30 years old, whether or not they're kept in captivity or in the wild. They eat a varied diet of young vegetation and fruits, which they search out using their flexible trunks and excellent sense of smell. Most tapirs are nocturnal or crepuscular, and while they don't have exceptional vision, they do rely on that strong sense of smell and also their sense of hearing. Although they don't look particularly armored, they do have thick skin over the back of their necks, and paired with their sheer size, adult tapirs are relatively protected from most natural predators. Considered a living fossil by some, relatives of the tapir have been around since the Eocene, approximately 50 million years ago, and their family has survived through waves of extinction of other large animals. However, today they have suffered a sharp decline due to habitat loss and fragmentation from human agriculture, habitation, and mining. Aside from donations, you can still help tapirs and all forest-dwelling animals all over the world by being aware of your daily purchasing, such as opting for things like shade-grown, fair trade, and Rainforest Alliance certified coffee and chocolate, and avoiding other products that may contain things like palm oil. So now that you know a little bit about tapirs, let me fill you in a bit on what you've been watching on the art side of things. While there are many species that I could have happily chosen for this theme, as there are many ungulates that I absolutely adore, I couldn't resist a spotty little tapir calf. I may have gone a little bit overboard on the spots, but scale has never been my forte when it comes to patterns on animals, so I will chalk it up to that. To accomplish all of this detail without having to go back in or paint around all of these spots, I decided to use masking fluid for this project. I used Blick's hot pressed paper so that the edges of the masking fluid wouldn't be too unpredictable as they might be on a cold pressed paper. I used Core's masking fluid that I poured inside of a fine line applicator bottle, both of which will be in the description below. This is only the second time that I've used Core's masking fluid. I bought it specifically for this project and tested it out beforehand, but so far I really love it. It's really easy to remove, and the applicator, which I have used before, makes it incredibly easy to apply in the first place. Once all of the masking fluid was completely dry, I began painting using Daniel Smith's Sodalite, Piemontite, and Burnt Umber, as well as Core's Raw Umber. It required a few layers and some additional care around the bits of masking fluid, as the paint and water is more likely to cling to and pool around those areas of masking fluid if you're not careful. I didn't use a heat tool at all in this process, as that can also affect the masking fluid and make it really difficult or impossible to remove without damaging the paper later on. Once I was happy with the overall values of the piece, I let it completely dry one more time, then removed the masking fluid with my fingers without a single incident of tearing the paper or having it cause any issues at all. Once removed, I went back over some areas of white to soften off some of those hard lines and add shadows where needed. Then I finished everything off with a small drop shadow under the tapir itself. This piece didn't end up quite how I imagined in my head, as I think I wanted more of a portrait, but I had to get all those spotty spots in, so I think this cute little teenage tapir still worked out in the end, and I hope you like him as well. He is available for sale over in my Etsy shop, where 50% of the profits will go to the Tapir Specialist Group, which has been working for over 30 years to help study, manage, and restore tapirs in their remaining habitats. And remember, if you purchase anything in the shop in the month of July, including this painting, there will also be a donation made to the Dreaming Zebra Foundation for World Watercolor Month. close out this video, I wanted to show you how far back my love for baby tapirs goes with a little clay critter that I made many moons ago. To this day, he's still one of my absolute favorites, and he happily adorns my bookshelves while I work. Before you go, I just wanted to give a little shout out to our other AAC artists one more time. Be sure to check out their artwork and see everything from this really diverse group of animals, ranging from the last standing member of a unique American family to some underwater giants. Thank you as always for watching and for helping to support animal conservation. And until next time, happy painting.